All right, we're going to start with subtraction, day one. When we left for spring break, we were doing addition and we did it by graphing. Now we're going to do a couple bell work. Hopefully you've already done those bell work problems. My goal is for you to go ahead and do the bell work problems before you watch the videos so you can see if you're getting them right or wrong. So just from now on, if you haven't done them, please go ahead and do them. I'm only putting one graphing one on there today to make sure that you can remember how to graph. If you don't have this printed out, it's okay. Just try to sketch a graph in order to do it. Just remember when you go to upload your answers and your actual work into Edsby, make sure it's clear enough. Again, my rule is you had to have your name written in ink, and that you need to show all your work. It's very important that you show all your work, because when you fill in the forms document for me before you upload your picture, it enables me to quickly scan and see that you've got right or wrong answers, and that way I can get back to you quickly if you're getting them wrong, so we can do some one-on-one to make sure you're getting them right. So we're going to start with the first bell work. On this bell work, remember that it's rise over run. So rise over run. So on this first one, again, we know that our starting point is at a +2, and then my rise and run, it's 5 over 1. So if we wrote that out, it would be down 5 and right 1. So I'm going to start at -2. I'm sorry. I'm going to start at a +2. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, put a big dot there. Remember, you always start on the y-axis. The only time you don't do that is when it's just an x equals. So I've got a +2, and then I'm going to do down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 to the right and put a dot. And again, I'm going to go down 5, can't go down 5. So that's when you're going to go the opposite direction. The opposite of down would be up and left. And I'm going to try to go up. 1, 2, 3. I cannot go up. So that means that I'm going to just have those 2 dots. And I'm going to draw my line. Take a little straight edge right here. And I'm just going to draw that line. I'll make sure it's on there. Oops, I'm a little bit off, but that's okay. So now I'm going to do the next one. My starting point again is the number by itself. It's at -4. I'll put my dot at -4. Nothing in front of this x means that it's an imaginary 1. So it's going to be 1 over 1. So that means it's up 1, right 1. So it means I'm going to go up 1, right 1. Well, right there, I've already got my answer. So my answer to this one for my x and my y, looking for my x and my y, I'm going to start at 0, 0. How many did I go left or right? Well, I went over 1 to the right. So my x is a 1. My y is how many times I go down. So you should have gone down 1, 2, 3. So your answer should be 1, -3. Again, this is just a review because we've done these prior to spring break. All right, let's go down to number 2. On number 2, if you attended the Zoom session on Friday, we already did this one, so you can fast forward. I'm going to draw my line there because I have the same number. I looked for opposite signs. I have opposite signs. That means I can just add going straight down. So I've got a -5x and my imaginary 1 here. So -5 plus 1 is going to give me a -4x. I'm going to cancel out my +2y and my -2y. I'll put my equal sign. 15 plus 5 gives me 20. Then the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So divide by a -4. Whatever you do on the left, you have to do on the right. Divide by -4. Cancel that out. X 20 divided by -4 gives me a -5. So my X is a -5 in my answer. So once you get that, then you've got to go back and you've got to fill it in, this X, into one of the problems up here. It doesn't matter which one you did. Before spring break, I always had you do the first one just to keep the pattern, so I'm going to do that. I've got -5 times -5, because that's where my X is, plus 2y equals 15. So -5 times -5 gives you +25 plus 2y equals 15. Now again, we want to get this y by itself. So what do we have to do with the 25 to move it from the left to the right? The opposite of adding here would be subtraction. So -25 minus 25. That's going to cancel it out. And I'm going to take this up here. I have a 2y left here, so I'm going to take this up here just because I'm out of room. 2y equals 15 minus 25 gives me a -10. And then I'm going to divide by 2, y is equal to -5. So you should have had -5 and -5 is your answer. Your X and Y are the same. All right, the last thing that we did before spring break was solve the following system by equations by substitution, meaning you have to substitute it in. That was actually the first set that we learned. So remember, we use substitution when we have a y equals or an x equals. So you're going to take this whole equation right here. Remember, take this whole equation in parentheses, and you're going to plug it in where that y is. And that y is going to come out of the equation. So you're going to have -7x minus 5, parentheses, 2x minus 13, and then equals -20. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to multiply your -5x and make sure you make it a -5x. So -5x times 2 gives you a -10x. -5 times a -13. Negative and negative makes a positive. 5 times 13 gives you 65. Now you're going to bring everything else down. I'm going to bring down my equals, my -20, and my -7x over here. The next thing you need to do is combine like terms. Take your terms and combine them. So I've got a -7x and a -10x. Remember, they're both negatives. So if you put in the calculator, you can put -7x minus 10x, or you can put -7x plus a -10x. Either way, it's going to give you a -17x plus 65 equals -20. Now again, we're trying to get the x by itself. So I'm going to move my 65 to the other side. So it's going to give me -65, -65. That gives me -17x equals, remember they're both negative, so you're actually just going to add. So 0 plus 5 is 5. 6 plus 2 is 8, so it's a negative 85. The last thing you need to do is divide, and I'm going to rewrite this over here because I'm, again, a little bit out of a room. So I've got negative 17x plus a negative, or sorry, equals a negative 85. Let me get rid of that so you can see it. Then I'm going to take and divide both sides by 17. All right, so if you take your calculator, you go negative 85 divided by 17 gives you x is equal to a positive 5, because this negative on 17, negative 85 gives you positive. Now you're done at this point? Not quite, because you've got to take this 5 and plug it back into this equation. So I got my first part of my answer. Now I got to plug it in to here. All right, so I'm going to slide this up just a tad bit. So I'm going to take this x equals 5, plug it in for here. So I got y equals 2 times 5 minus 13. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring down your 13. 10 minus 13 gives you a negative 3. So your answer, when you do this, remember you've got to put it in a parentheses because it's an x and a y. It's going to be 5, comma, negative 3.